After winning Friday night here in Houston, Texas, the White Sox ran into Dallas Keuchel on Saturday, and that set up the series finale here in Texas at Minute Maid Park. It's the White Sox and Astros on WGN TV. And good afternoon, this is Chuck Swirsky filling in for Ken Harrelson. Always a pleasure, joined by former Cy Young Award winner Steve Stone. And Steve, the Houston Ball Club, they have got some big-time bats.
They really do it a different way than most teams, and it shows you that the batting average really doesn't count all that much when you look at statistics. It was a 1-0 game last night until the 8th inning. And in the 8th inning, Jennings got a slider down to Evan Gattis. He hit it out of the ballpark. Now it's a 2-0 game, giving Dallas Keuchel all the runs he needed. But just to make sure, Chris Carter comes up, hits the ball out of the ballpark, so back-to-back home runs. Only the third time this year the Astros have done it. When you look at the numbers for the Astros, you can see how they do it. They're first in home runs, they're tied for second in extra base hits, they're tied for third in stolen bases, and the batting average is near the bottom. So that'll show you that batting average is one of the most overrated statistics. If you score runs, hit the ball out of the park, and if you can run on offense, you're in pretty good shape.
Steve, let's talk a little about Adam LaRoche, what he's given the White Sox.
Adam LaRoche is playing a whole lot more now because Jose Abreu's finger is giving him some problems. And lately, LaRoche is starting to hit the baseball. I don't think it's any coincidence that he's playing more defensively because it's tough to be a designated hitter, as Adam is finding out. You look at the numbers, and in the last 7 games, he's hit .346. That's good. He's hit a home run. He's got a couple of doubles, and he's driven in 5. Plus, he gives you an outstanding defensive effort at first base. So he's heating it up. Now we need more of the offense to heat it up.
All right, well, let's see what happens here. Game 3 here in Houston. It's the White Sox and the Astros. First pitch coming up next on WGN TV.
Chicago White Sox baseball is brought to you by Miller Lite, the original light Pilsner. Cheers, it's Miller time. By Honda Dream Garage Sales Event, now at your Honda dealer. By Subway, make a smart play for savory subs this season. Score more flavor at Subway restaurants. Subway, eat fresh. By Ford, America's best-selling brand, inviting you to go further in our fuel-efficient vehicles. Check out our entire lineup at your Ford store or at your local FordStores.com. And by your Chicago and Northwest Indiana Hyundai dealers who invite you to test drive our award-winning lineup today. Visit Hyundai.com.
to the ballpark here in Houston, Texas. A lot of families coming out to the ball game this afternoon to watch the White Sox and the Houston Astros. And you know what I've learned? I've learned a lot about baseball over the past week. Many thanks to Steve Stone, who has an untapped resource of a lot of great baseball information. And Steve, one thing you pride yourself on, staying on top of the game, certainly, especially with the farm systems.
The draft is coming up, and it's coming up, and it's going to mean so much to a whole lot of teams. But this Astro team has been mostly built through the draft, either by trading away some of their good players or keeping the guys that they felt would be good players. Altuve is a free agent in 06. Jason Castro out of Stanford. First-round draft pick in 08. Dallas Keuchel, the 7th round. They hit gold in the 7th round. George Springer, the first pick, 11th overall in 2011. And a guy that everybody's going to see in about 3 weeks, Carlos Correa. He's one of the guys that everybody views is going to be the catalyst to this offense. He's got big, big power, a lot like Chris Bryant of the Cubs. And as soon as he gets here, this offense is going to take off.
Exciting times for a lot of young people. We're going to have the lineups in a moment right here on WGN TV as the White Sox take on the Astros.
Home for the most live sports, and welcome back to Minute Maid Park. The youngsters have just done a stirring rendition of our national anthem. And with the Astros on the field, we'll take a look at how Robin's going to line up our Sox for the game this afternoon, the finale of a 3-game series, a day off tomorrow, and it's on to face the Rangers. Adam Eaton leading it off with Melky Cabrera in the 2 spot. Then it's Adam LaRoche, who's playing first base, Avi Garcia in right field, Connor Gillespie, the DH. Lexi Ramirez at shortstop. Gordon Beckham has been hot. He's third. Tyler Flowers behind the plate. And Carlos Sanchez is hitting ninth and playing second base. The defense and how they'll line up behind Roberto Hernandez. It's Tucker, Marisnik, and Springer in the outfield with Valbuena, VR, Altuve, and Carter in the infield. Jason Castro once again behind the plate. And Roberto Hernandez is on the hill. Roberto's had some problems this year. He's 2-3. His ERA 4.77. He's on for his 10th start, but opponents hitting 277 against him. That's a fairly high total. He also has allowed 7 home runs as that sinker, for the most part this year, is not sinking. The umpires for the game this afternoon: David Rackley behind the plate. Rob Drake is at first. The crew chief, Joe West, is at second, and Gabe Morales is at third. So the Sox trying to take 2 of 3 from the division-leading Houston Astros. And they'll have to put some numbers up on the board today. So they're throwing the ball around the infield. That means we're ready to play baseball, and that also means I'm ready to turn it over to my play-by-play partner, Chuck Swirsky.
Steve, always a pleasure. And, Steve, it's a beautiful day for baseball, and it's indoor baseball.
And the fact is, we don't need rowboats today, as happened last night after the game.
Yeah, big time. That water seeped into the concourses, a lot of drainage problems. I saw you on the USS Minnow, like Gilligan's Island, that 3-hour tour. So that was you with Ginger.
That was.
The first pitch is underway. So Adam Eaton at the plate to lead off for the White Sox, 0 for 4 on Saturday. 1 for 8 in the series. Here's Roberto with the pitch. See, Ginger, Marianne, I saw you at Mrs. Howell. That's kind of like your style.
Oh, geez, I can't believe that. That sounds a little to me like age discrimination, but, far be it from me to make that accusation.
1-1 pitch to Adam Eaton.
She does have a few bucks, however.
Yeah, she does. Swung on a little lazy fly ball to shallow left field. Shortstop under it and makes the grab. And it's VR. Went out here in the top of the first.
Let's take a look at our picks to click. Let's start with Tyler Flowers. The crew has him. I took Adam LaRoche because he's had a pretty good road trip, and I tried to convince Chuck/Hawk to take Smead Jolly. Smead hit .313 in 1930. I thought he'd be the ideal pick, but instead he picked Connor Gillespie.
He was right there. I want to let you know that, Steve.
You got to consider Smead for down the road. Still have 3 more games with you.
Cabrera at the plate against Roberto Hernandez, and lifetime Melky 9 for 25, batting .360 against Hernandez, who finished 4th in the Cy Young voting back in 2007. Sabathia won it that year. Here's a ground ball to short. VR charges in, and the toss to Carter, and they're 2 down here in the first.
VR not the best defender around. He's probably a better shortstop than he is at third. He made a couple of bad throws in yesterday's game, and overall he's made 8 errors, but he's handled the first 2 flawlessly.
It's going to bring on Adam LaRoche, 1 for 8 in the series, 6 strikeouts over the past 2 games, batting .235 of the season, 5 homers and 21 RBIs. He's also 6th in the American League at drawing walks. He has 29. The Houston Ball Club starts this afternoon, 31-19, 16 and 11 at home. They lead the Angels by 5 games in the West. Angels hit 5 home runs in their first 2 innings last night to beat the Tigers 8-6. Trout and Pujols among them.
There's a look at A.J. Hinch, his second go-round as a manager.
Ground ball to second. Altuve over to Carter. 1-2-3 inning for the White Sox. We'll return in a moment from Minute Maid Park. Game 3 of a weekend series in Houston.
Springer leading it off. He's had a quiet series with Jose Altuve in the 2 spot, 60 hits, tied for 5th in the American League. And it's Tucker, Gaddis, and Carter in the middle with Valbuena, Villar, Castro, and Marisnick rounding it out. The defense, and how they'll line up behind Johnny Danks, left to right, Melky Cabrera, Adam Eaton, and Avisail Garcia. In the infield, Gordon Beck and Alexi Ramirez, Carlos Sanchez, and Adam LaRoche with Tyler Flowers behind the plate, and Johnny Danks on the hill. And John's had a terrible time with these Astros. 0-3, a 9.15 ERA career-wise. There you look at the numbers this year, on for his 10th start.
Springer swings and misses here from Danks, who grew up and lives in the Austin, Texas area, about 2.5 hours away, northwest of Houston. Springer in the series 0 for 6. He has struck out 4 times, batting .222.
And I saw John's father in the hotel. So he's got his parents. He has a whole lot of friends down to watch his performance today. So a little added incentive. And if he keeps the changeup down and away from these guys, he should be in decent shape. It's a short porch in left field.
1-1 pitch. As Steve Stone mentioned in our pregame show, Houston #1 in the American League in bopping the ball out of the park. They've got 68 as a team, but they've also struck out a league high 458 times. Big swing by Springer.
It's very rare if you have a home run hitting team that isn't at or near the top in strikeouts. I mean, that just goes with the territory. If you can find those guys that can hit home runs and not strike out, they're making a whole lot of money.
2-2 pitch. Fouled off. We've had a little of this, a little of that during this road trip, Steve, that started Monday in Toronto. Hutchison threw a 4-hitter at the White Sox, but then Sale had a masterpiece in the first game of a twin bill at Baltimore, and then Keuchel yesterday was in complete control.
So was Jose Quintana. He had a great game. He gave up just a 1 run.
Springer strikes out. That's his 5th in the series.
That's strikeout number 1,000 for Johnny Danks, so he might like to keep that baseball. Good straight change, and he keeps it down. We've told you that when it's down, he's very effective. And he threw 2 of them in that sequence, and they were both down, and there is strikeout number 1,000 for Johnny Danks.
Congratulations to Mr. Danks. Altuve stepping in, 297. 15 stolen bases, tops in the American League. He's also 5th in the American League in 60 hits. Here's the pitch. Steve, how many baseballs in your collection from your playing days do you have? Roughly, I mean.
It's really hard to say. I don't have too many of them, but they have been in storage, I think, the last 20 years. So eventually I'm going to inventory that storage. Right now I can't give you a close enough count.
Not on eBay, though.
No, definitely not. Because I would be very embarrassed when they brought 75 cents.
1-1 pitch with 1 out. Altuve, little looper. And the center fielder Eaton calls off. Garcia makes the catch.
Good communication. Avi could have caught it, but as soon as he hears Adams' voice, he's going to give way. Center fielder is always the captain of the outfield, and they got it done.
He's a player, Steve, that I'm really impressed with here in the weekend series in Preston Tucker.
He can really hit, and running a little bit better than we were told, but he doesn't mind the lefty-lefty matchup, and that's unusual for young left-hand hitters.
Tucker drives a ball foul to the right. He had 2 hits Friday, 2 more yesterday. He's batting .328 on the season.
And he's got big power, as you saw. Fortunately, he was well out in front of that.
Danks delivers, and it's a 1-1 count.
Right field here at Minute Maid Park, a legitimate home run. Left field, you can get some cheapies because of the Crawford boxes. There you take a look around. 436, a straightaway center. And that's Tal's Hill, which is straight uphill. And I asked Adam Eaton about it. He said, no, he didn't take any fly balls using that. He said, when it comes time, he said, I'll give it a shot and just try to run up the hill to catch it.
We have a little history we're going to bring you on Tal's Hill. Big swing by Tucker. In fact, this is a very unusual ballpark, Steve. You've been here many times, obviously. This is my first opportunity to see and be in this ballpark.
It's a good-looking park.
2-2 pitch with 2 outs here. Tucker goes the opposite field, and it's a foul ball.
Well, there's an example how left-hand hitters, with any pop at all, they would have a field day in this ballpark. I think of Adrian Gonzalez of the Dodgers. He would absolutely love it here. Big Poppy from Boston, when he was right, he could take the ball and just pop it out in left field.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. It's so enticing, I'm sure, for a hitter when they see that. The left field with the Crawford boxes.
Well, what it does for a left-hand hitter is it convinces him he doesn't have to pull the ball to hit it out of the park. At 315, all you got to do is ease it over the scoreboard, and you're going to drive in a few.
There's a broken back little looper. Underneath it, making the grab is Sanchez. So the Astros go down 1-2-3, headed to the second in a moment here in Texas. So Garcia, Gillespie, and Ramirez will step in this second inning for the White Sox. Scoreless after 1. Hernandez to Garcia, and that's a cold strike.
When Roberto keeps the sinker down, it's a pretty good pitch. The problem is if he throws it knee high, it dips out of the zone. If he throws it belt high, it doesn't sink. And that's been one of the problems this year.
Little lazy ground ball to Altuve. And we have one out here in the second. Steve, we talked about Taos Hill during the course of the weekend. Bill Brown, who's been calling Houston games since 1980, gave me a story about the Hill. And Richie Sexson of Milwaukee, that slugger, and also played for Seattle.
Yeah.
He hit a ball off the flagpole. Now that's about, 435 feet or so. And it caromed off the pole, and he had a triple. He didn't score, he had a triple. That's a long way.
It's a long way. It doesn't happen too often, and it won't happen any longer because they're cutting down the hill for next season.
Now, are you in favor of that?
Yes. I'm in favor of bringing the fences in a bit. By a bit, as a pitcher, I'm in favor of taking it from 436 to 433. I want to give those hitters as much advantage as possible.
Gillespie slices one foul to the left. And then on top of that, the other dimension here, the light standards in left center field, left field. Bill Brown was telling me that Sammy Sosa, the Cubs, hit one off the light standard. That's a long way.
Not surprising.
Gillespie goes the other way for a base hit to left. Gillespie makes the big turn at first and puts the brakes on. So Connor Gillespie making his first designated hitter appearance in a White Sox uniform this season.
There is the light standard Chuck was talking about, and that's a long way up there.
How were you as a batter, Steve, when in the National League?
I was deceptively bad, but I hit in tough luck my entire career.
I'm sure of that.
I hit 100.
You hit 100?
Yeah, my first year I was shocked that they held my big bat to 0 for 34. And actually went 50 plate appearances without getting a hit, which was just bypassed, by the way, by John Lester.
Yeah, how about that?
Well, my congratulations to John. That is a record you just don't like to hold.
Gillespie on at first. Here's the 0-1 pitch to Ramirez. I'm trying to think. We've got some interesting details, and we'll bring them to you. We're going to have a fun Sunday, Steve, because we're going to ask you a lot of questions on Twitter during the 4th, 5th, and 6th innings. We'll put our Twitter handle up for our WGN TV viewers. We also have some great baseball notes to share with you, and Steve can kind of elaborate on what's going on around the great game of baseball. Here's Hernandez. Ramirez with a foul back.
One of the things that the Sox are looking for is what's happened all year long with Roberto Hernandez. On breaking pitches, and it's mostly a slider, the opponents this year are slugging .870. That's just on breaking pitches. The league average is .355. That shows you, as he is 130th out of 130 eligible pitchers in throwing a breaking ball, either a curve or a slider, whichever he chooses.
Ramirez swings and misses, and he struck him out.
He went to a couple of high fastballs up and out of the zone, and he had Alexei swinging through both of them.
Alexei struggling, Steve, big time. He's 1 for his last 19. So Beckham at the plate, Gordon with a solo blast to tie it up on Friday night at 3-3. Sox eventually won that ball game 6-3 in extras. Hernandez at 6'4", 230 pounds. He's been around, he's bounced around, but at the end of the day, he still has a big league uniform on.
His glory days were as Fausto Carmona for the Cleveland Indians. He had a great sinker, a hard sinker in those days. There you look at the lifetime numbers. Not overly impressive, but he was very good at one point.
Beckham 8 for 26 on the trip. That's a .307 average on the season. 3 homers, 13 RBIs, batting .263. Beckham playing third base today. Houston's outfield with Tucker, Marisnik in center, Springer in right, Valbuena at third, VR at short, Altuve at second, Carter at first. Little chopper foul. White Sox get the day off tomorrow, then take on the Texas Rangers.
The red-hot Texas Rangers, who are starting to put up a whole lot of runs.
How about Chichi Gonzalez last night, the rookie feed-on pitcher? Hitless threw 5 and did a nice job.
This is his major league debut.
Yes, it was. A ball and 2 strikes to Gordon, with 2 outs here in the top of the second in Game 3 of the weekend series. Hernandez checking the runner in the pitch. Swung on. Beckham goes to right field, and that's a base hit. Gillespie on his way to third, and Beckham with a base hit here in the top of the second. Runners at first and third for the White Sox with 2 out.
Gordon's gotten his opportunity to play much more, and with that opportunity to play has come a resurgent batting average. Hernandez tries to move that fastball in on the hands of Gordon. He's able to fight it off, drop it just down the line, and a chance to break through here in Houston.
Tyler Flowers stepping in. Flowers 2 for 12 on the road trip, 2 homers, 10 RBIs, batting .196. White Sox with a couple of hits here early in the ball game, top of the second at Minute Maid Park, where the Astros are 5 over 500.
When Roberto Hernandez was Fausto Carmona in his early days with the Cleveland Indians, he went 19-8 with a 3.06 ERA back in 2007. It was just an outstanding year, 215 innings, and the sinker was as good as anybody's around.
Hernandez to Flowers, swung on, and there is a base hit up the middle, scoring Gillespie. Tyler Flowers delivers here in the second. Beckham moves over to second base.
RBI number 11 for Tyler. And it's a 1-0 game. 2 out, run scoring base hits. The essence of any offense. Tyler Flowers takes it right back up the middle. Scoots by VR. And a chance to tack up a few more.
That's going to bring on the number 9 hitter in the lineup, Carlos Sanchez. Sanchez 1 for 7 in the series. No homers, 2 RBIs on the season, batting 160, but playing a great glove at second base for the White Sox. All this is happening, folks, with 2 outs here, top of the second. White Sox with runners at first and second, and they have a run in. Here's the pitch. Sox already have collected 3 hits off Roberto Hernandez. 1-0 delivery. Cold strike.
Each and every time that Roberto Hernandez goes to the mound, he is pitching for his spot in the rotation. Hasn't been a particularly good year for him, and they got a youngster by the name of Vincent Velasquez, a flame-throwing right-hander that they figure is going to be in this rotation. And depending on how Hernandez does, it'll be sooner rather than later.
They've got that farm system going, as you illuminated on the pregame show on WGN TV, that 2012 class. Very impressive. We saw McCullers on Friday night, the starting pitcher for Houston.
And they also brought up another hard-throwing youngster, Michael Feliz. He's in their bullpen due to injuries.
Yeah, to Feldman, who will undergo knee surgery.
They've had a few difficulties. In fact, they've used 9 different starting pitchers, and we're not 2 months into this season. So
9 different starting pitchers?
9 different starting pitchers shows you how much flexibility and versatility A.J. Hinch has as far as starting pitching, and this organization has.
3-1 count to Sanchez with 2 outs here in the top of the second. Beckham the runner at second, and Tyler Flowers, who delivered with an RBI single at first. And it's a 3-2 count.
Tucker is very shallow in left field. As you can see, they're swung around toward left and left center, the big gap in right center, and down the line in right, as Springer is well over into right center field.
3-2, 2 outs, runners take off. Here's Sanchez with a ground ball to VR. Slings it over the first, and that will do it for the White Sox. Get a run here in the top of the second at Minute Maid Park. WGN TV will go back to Houston after this. And welcome back to Houston, Texas. Chuck Swirsky filling in for the Hawk, Kent Harrelson, alongside Steve Stone. Here is Danks, Evan Gattis, the designated hitter.
This is not a particularly good matchup because Gattis is a pure home run hitter, doesn't care much about the average, driven in 31 runs as you look at the numbers. And Johnny Danks has given up 9 home runs in 50 innings.
1-0 pitch to Gattis. So in other words, they bring Gattis in from Atlanta, says here's a bat, go ahead.
Here's a bat. I know you brought a couple of different gloves with you. As far as a catcher, maybe a first baseman's glove, maybe an outfielder's glove. Save them for the wintertime. They'll keep your hands warm. In the meantime, hit.
1-1 pitch to Gattis. Here's a ground ball. And Ramirez scoops it up and throws over to LaRoche.
Enjoy the benefits of being a White Sox season ticket holder by purchasing a prorated 58-game full or a 19 or 20-game split season ticket plan. Great locations are still available. Packages begin the week of June 5th. To purchase, visit whitesox.com or call 312-674-1000.
White Sox return home Friday to entertain the Tigers, so we hope to see you at the ballpark. Here is Danks against Chris Carter with a big swing and a miss.
Both Gattis and Carter in yesterday's game hit almost duplicate sliders from Dan Jennings and took him way out of the ballpark. This man is enormously strong.
Big time. He is 3 for 7 in the series. On the season, 8 homers, 27 RBIs, batting 188. The Houston Ball Club, as we mentioned, number 1 in the American League and knocking the ball out of the park with 68. They are dead last in batting average, Steve Stone, hitting .235.
One of the most overrated statistics that we have in this game is batting average, because batting average doesn't win you any games. Runs win you games.
Carter, a little dribbler in front that's going to be picked up by Flowers, and he throws to LaRoche. And Carter is retired. Now, I'd like you to talk more about that, because as a fan, again, I'm a fan. I look at batting average, I go, wow, that's unbelievable. But you think that is kind of an overrated stat?
I do, as opposed to on-base percentage, because you can have a low batting average, draw a lot of walks, you have a good on-base percentage. If you have a good on-base percentage, you're going to score your share of runs. Also, the fact is that if you can hit the ball out of the ballpark, for the sluggers on your team, I'm not talking about the table setters, I'm not talking about the guys at 1 and 2, but for the sluggers, you look at how many runs they scored, how many runs they drove in. The closer to 200 those numbers add up to, the better player they are.
Valbuena, the third baseman, he went 0 for 5 on Friday. He's 2 for his last 25. The former Cub has 10 homers, 18 RBIs, batting 192.
There's a look at the big bat out of the lineup. Emilio Bonifacio. No, actually, it's Jose Abreu who's on Emilio's right.
Your sense of humor. But I love the fact that when you talk about Abreu, and he's such a cog and a vital piece of this team, I think it affects the rest of the lineup.
It's not a good thing that he is nursing along a very sore index finger. I asked him this morning about it. He said that he did it actually taking batting practice. He irritated it. He's since re-irritated it. It's swollen. He's listed as day-to-day. Probably not going to play today, however.
Fouled off to the left.
I took a look at it. It didn't look particularly good because of the swelling that was in it. And he's the kind of guy that wants to play every day. So if he's not able to get in there, it's frustrating for him. It's not good for the ball club, because as the big man in the middle, you count on him to hit the tough pitchers. A whole lot of guys can hit the 5 starters.
Swing and a miss by Valbuena, and the inning is retired. Nice shot by Danks. We go to the third at a moment from Houston. Adam Eaton to lead off the top of the third here. Eaton popped a short to lead off the ball game. Appreciate his time in the WGN-TV pregame show. Very personable young man. Takes a cold strike.
Hasn't had the best Houston around. He's been hit a couple of times. He only has one hit. But he's been getting on recently, and when he gets on, he has a habit of scoring, especially if it's the top of the inning.
Hitting .289, 16 runs scored over the last 20 games. Sox have collected 3 hits. Here's Eaton and gets past the diving Chris Carter into right field for a base hit.
Carter played very good first base yesterday, and this one he just couldn't get to. Makes a quick move to his right. Has to backhand it, and the ball just hops over his glove.
That's going to bring on Melky Cabrera here with 1 on, nobody out in the top of the third.
Eaton 1 out of 3 in stolen bases. This is not a bad combination to run against.
What kind of a move does Hernandez have?
You pretty much saw about as good as it gets. He does not have a good move. Now he'll use a slide step to try to get the ball to Castro a little bit more quickly. Castro's made some improvements with his footwork and his delivery, but he's still not among the league best. And you see by that move, and I know Adam Eaton has, that he can get another step and a half on that lead.
Hernandez with a check of the runner at Eaton at first. And the pitch.
If Robin does want to run, this is normally a pitch 2 run, as Castro is looking over into his dugout. A.J. Hinch, the manager, a former major league catcher for 7 years, is the man giving the signs to Castro.
Cabrera takes a strike. White Sox 4 under 500, 10-16 on the road, trailing the Royals by 7.5 games in the American League Central. Kansas City with the Cubs this afternoon. We have plenty of baseball news, and again, we're going to go to Twitter in innings 4, 5, and 6. We'll flash that Twitter handle next inning. I know a lot of our fans who love the White Sox have questions for Steve Stone pertaining not only to the White Sox but Major League Baseball. A ball and a strike, nobody out. Cabrera chopped it to the right. A lot of teams right now, Steve, some are hot, some are not.
And there's some real surprising things, but one of the good things is out of St. Louis, Matt Holliday, although he got sick last night and only had about half the game played, he set a National League record, reaching base 44 consecutive games to start a season.
Wow.
Not, however, the Major League record, and we'll get to that.
Eaton takes off. Cabrera goes the other way to left field, and that ball is off the wall. Eaton rounds third. He's going to stay put as Cabrera with a stand-up double, and the White Sox now with runners at second and third, and nobody out here in the top of the third.
Normally in this ballpark with the short porch and left, you do play a shallow left field. This time, Tucker was very shallow, and Melky makes him pay. Hits it off the wall. No chance for Tucker. And a great way to start the third inning.
Adam LaRoche with an opportunity here to drive in some runs. With Eaton at third, Cabrera at second, and no one out. Roberto Hernandez has surrendered 5 hits already. Mentioned that LaRoche is 6th in the American League in walks. He is 29 on the year. Springer in right field for Houston has 32, 4th best.
Right now what he's got to do is stay patient, because with first base open, you wouldn't figure that Hernandez is going to give him anything good. However, in the driver's seat at 2-0, you're zone hitting. You're looking for a fastball. If you want it middle in and down, and that's where LaRoche wants it, that should be the one pitch he's looking for, and he should be taking anything else.
Here's the 2-0 pitch. Swung on, fouled off to the right. With Abreu out, Steve, LaRoche is having an opportunity now to play some first base.
I think like everybody who's been a lifelong fielder as well as a hitter, you get more comfortable in that role, and he's been hitting much better. You can't play two first basemen. It becomes tough. One is going to have to be the DH.
2-1 pitch. That's what Robin Ventura addressed to the media prior to the ball game about Adam, and understanding that this is a position. This is a spot as a DH, and now he's playing first base. Here's the pitch, and he draws the walk, and the White Sox with the bases loaded and nobody out.
Northwest Indiana Sox fans' night is on Friday, June 19th, when the Sox take on the Rangers. The White Sox are offering specially priced tickets to all Indiana residents, their families, and their friends. To purchase tickets, visit whitesox.com/NWI Sox fans. So Brent Strom comes out. He wants a word with Hernandez. That was very much a pitch around. He didn't want any part of LaRoche. He was content to throw the ball out of the zone with first base open. That's why you have to be patient in that situation. Now he loads him up. And a chance for Avi, coming back from that sore knee, had a base hit, one of the few base hits yesterday against Dallas Keuchel. And he made an adjustment, and that's something I was talking to Mark Parent about, making an adjustment when you have a pitcher with a sinker as good as Keuchel. He looked to right field, got a little closer to the plate, and it worked out well.
First pitch swinging by Garcia, and it's 0-1 on the count.
Well, that's one of the things that Hawk always talks about, is a hitter making adjustments. You can move up, back, in, out. As far as the batter's box is concerned, you just don't find a lot of major league hitters willing to do it.
Bases loaded for the White Sox here in the top of the third. Hernandez on the mound. The pitch. 0-2 pitch coming up for Roberto Hernandez. Garcia moves into the batter's box. You have Eaton at third, Cabrera at second, LaRoche at first.
The arms in the outfield. Marisnik is good in center field, as we've seen. Springer is great as far as his arm in right field, and Tucker not so much in left.
Here's the pitch. You mentioned how important Abreu is to this lineup. So is Garcia.
Nice to have him back, and hopefully that knee will not flare up.
A ball and 2 strikes, no one out. Bases loaded for the White Sox. Here's the delivery.
That one just missed outside, and quite obviously Hernandez wanted it. The umpires in the stands certainly wanted it. But on our Xfinity pitch tracks, we'll show you that this is clearly off the plate.
You see the body language of Roberto Hernandez. He wanted that one badly, and I can understand why. The bases are loaded with nobody out for the White Sox. 2-2 pitch coming out for Garcia. Garcia swings. Marisnik with the catch. And the runners hold.
Well, we told you about the arm of Marisnik. It's good. The center fielder has the toughest throw in the outfield because you have to deal with the pitcher's mound. And you want to bounce it over the mound, off the grass, and a long hop to the catcher. This is over the mound. It is off the grass, and Castro was able to corral it.
This is going to bring on the designated hitter, Connor Gillespie, who singled in the second inning. It's 1-0 White Sox, 1-5-0 for the White Sox. Astros without a hit here. We're in the top of the third with the bases loaded and 1 out. Eaton at third, Cabrera at second, LaRoche at first for Connor Gillespie. Who, by the way, was my pick to click. Thanks very much, Steve Stone.
It was.
I took it away from you, didn't I?
Well, actually, I think you should have taken Smead Jolly still.
Connor swings, and that ball is laced into right field for a base hit. Eden scores. Coming around to score is Cabrera, and we have a play at third base, and LaRoche makes it to third, and a big 2-run single on the play for the designated hitter, Connor Gillespie.
RBIs 11 and 12 for Connor. He didn't hit it hard, but he hit it in a perfect spot. Got it to trickle by Altuve. It was hit too slowly to even think about a play at the plate. The throw is off the mark anyway. And a heads-up base running play by Adam LaRoche. He knows that throw is coming all the way through, so he beats the play at third, runners at the corners, and only one out. More importantly, a 3-run lead.
For Alexei Ramirez. And Alexei won for his last 19, so let's hope something good happens here at this at-bat for Ramirez. We have one out here. It's 3-0 White Sox. And the pitch. Foul ball off to the left.
And there is a job to do for Connor Gillespie. That job is on a ground ball in the infield. You got to go down and get a piece of the pivot man at second base. Whatever is going to happen, you've got to be able to disrupt two and score another run.
0-1 pitch coming up with one out here. The White Sox have played it twice here in the third inning. Thanks to Connor Gillespie. And the pitch from Hernandez. Give me an idea right now, Steve, about Ramirez really struggling, as the stats mentioned, 1 for 19.
With him, it just really comes and goes. He'll get to the point where it will turn on. When it does, he'll find that batting average up in the 280s before too long. He generally gets off to slow starts. This is a little bit slower than most.
Alexei struck out in the second inning. Here's the 0-2 pitch with one out. First and third for the White Sox. Swung on. And here's a ground ball to Altuve. Can he turn it? Over to second for one. And a run scores.
Slow developing play, and it allowed Connor Gillespie a chance to come across the bag and try to get a piece of VR. Odds were overwhelming. He wasn't going to get him anyway, as Alexei is fast. He drives in a run. That's run number 21. It's a 4-0 game, and you see Connor right on top of VR as he accepts the throw from Altuve.
4-0 White Sox. So Gordon Beckham will step in. Beckham singled in the second. Toss over to Carter at first. Ramirez back. Timely hitting for the White Sox.
2 out. Opportunity to drive home a run for Gordon Beckham. They had that opportunity in the second inning, and Tyler Flowers cashed it in.
Ramirez takes off. Here's the throw to second. It is high, diving into the bag, and Ramirez is safe.
We told you it's a good combination to run against, because Castro, for whatever reason, doesn't get a whole lot of throws on the money. The throw is up. Alexei is in. And stolen base number 5 this year. The first of the day for the Sox. For the year, that's their 14th stolen base. They're 14 and 14.
Beckham takes a cold strike. Again, Gillespie with a 2-run single. Then Ramirez grounded into a force with LaRoche scoring. 3 runs here in the third. White Sox lead 4-0 with 2 outs. 1-1 count coming up. Gordon swings to third base. Valbuena over to first to Carter. And that will retire the side for the White Sox. Got the job done. 4-0 Sox. We go to the bottom of the third here in Houston.
WGNSports.com and click on the WGN Sports Game Zone banner for the latest stats and information. The Sox Game Zone is powered by Robert Morris University, Illinois, offering over 55 athletic teams. That's more than any other university in the state. For more information on RMU, visit robertmorris.edu.
Chuck Swirsky filling in for Ken Harrelson. Doing my best, folks, so I appreciate your patience. Thank you. It's been a fun week as our road odyssey is taken to Toronto, Baltimore, Houston, and then we'll start a series in Arlington as Jonathan Villar squares around the bunt.
This road odyssey, assuming that the Sox can add to and then hold on to this lead, is going to find us 4-4 as we take on the Rangers, the suddenly red-hot Rangers who are scoring a ton of runs.
Yeah, that Texas ball club with the win today, they're going to go over 500 for the first time, Steve, since last June.
Not surprising. Their pitching fell apart. And without Prince Fielder in their lineup because of neck surgery, it took a big bat out of the middle of that lineup. You take a look at what was thought to be a terribly weak division. It's not turning out that way. The Angels now 2 over 500. They're going to keep on getting better. The Astros are doing awfully well, but they're probably going to have to add a pitcher. The Rangers at 500. The Mariners probably underachieving for what people thought they would do. They're 6.5 back. And the Athletics, well, the Athletics, they're in last.
Villar steps in against Danks, and a hot shot to third. Beautiful play by Beckham over to LaRoche. That is a major league ball play right there by Beckham.
Well, Gordon had to play in thinking that maybe Villar was going to lay down a bunt. So he's about even with the bag, and this is a one-hop rocket. What a magnificent job he's been doing. He's also swinging the bat, getting a chance with a few more at-bats lately, which means you're going to keep your rhythm in the field and get your rhythm at bat.
That's going to bring on Jason Castro. Castro out of Stanford went 0 for 4 on Saturday on the season, batting .219. Swings at the first pitch, rolling foul.
I told you earlier that Matt Holliday had reached base 44 straight times to start the season. That's a National League record. The record in baseball is Derek Jeter. Back in 1999, he reached base successfully the first 53 games of the season. That's somewhat unbelievable.
Houston still looking for its first hit of the afternoon. We're in the bottom of the third with 1 out. White Sox 4 runs, 6 hits. Gillespie is 2 for 2 with a 2-run single as a designated hitter. His first appearance as a DH in the season. Castro swings. It's off to the left. Little chopper, and it's an 0-2 count. If there's an area of concern here, as we just saw the American League West standings for Houston, what position would it be, Steve?
Starting pitcher. That's certainly what they need. The question is just exactly what do you want to give up?
Is there an everyday position?
They probably could use. I mean, look, if your wish list.
And I get it. Everyone has a wish list.
Everybody has a wish list. They probably would like to see an everyday third baseman, but they're not the Lone Ranger. That position has gotten few and far between as far as guys who can both field and hit.
Here's Danks. Almost hit him.
Most teams would love another catcher. They seem to have that fairly well in hand, but they could use an everyday third baseman. I just don't know where in the world you're going to find one. That's not a lament only of Houston, but that's something that a few teams are looking for, and the teams who have them, they're not readily going to give them up. A lot of people thought maybe Beltre would be the guy, but Texas has gotten back in the race.
Here's Castro, and that's Houston's first hit of the afternoon. Castro holds up between first and second and returns.
And what a throw by Garcia. Avi went into the corner. Castro was thinking about 2. It's not a good thought when Garcia's in right field. Just take another look at this throw. The ball's hit down the line, so Castro knows that Avi is going away from the throw. And he realizes, well, there's a shot. But a 360 spin and a rocket one-hopper, he would have been out by 40 feet.
So the Astros with a runner on first with one out here in the bottom of the third. Marisnick, the center fielder, at the plate. Spurs around the bunt, drags it to the right. LaRoche tried to make a play, and he is safe, and the Astros have runners now at first and second with one out.
We've been talking about this all year, and that is with a left-hander on the mound, and I'm talking about the Sox hitters. Left-hander on the mound who falls off the mound to the third base side. This is just a great bunt if you force the first baseman wide of the bag, or if you bunt it right at the second baseman by the pitcher. Marisnick does it perfectly. He's able to flash by LaRoche. He cannot get him. And it moves it to the top with two on and only one out. Good execution on the part of Marisnick.
For Springer, who struck out in the first against Danks. There's one out here in the bottom of the third. Two hits now, back-to-back hits for the Astros here.
Well, you know that Springer is going to break out of this malaise he's been in, and the only thing you hope is that it's when we leave town after this ball game.
That's right. Let him get his hits against Baltimore.
He's got a lot more talent than he's shown in this series.
And the pitch. He popped him up. Flowers near the dugout, and this sails away into the crowd about 10 rows just to the left of the Houston dugout.
Springer last year played in 78 games. He hit 20 home runs. He drove in 51 in 78 games. So that pencils out into a miraculous season. The Astros hoping for more from a guy that they consider a 5-tool player.
And the 11th pick in the draft in 2011 out of UConn. Here's the pitch by Danks. "4-0 White Sox. Houston threatening. They have runners at first and second with one out. 1-1 pitch coming up. Castro at second, Marisnick at first.
Here's the run expectancy with first and second and one out. Astros have played at least one run 34% of the time. Springer has big power. Watching him in batting practice, standing down there by the cage, he was routinely hitting him way over the Crawford boxes.
Two-one pitch. Had a big, healthy swing. So John Danks, who surrendered 11 runs over the past 10 2/3 innings, coming into the ball game this afternoon. Checks the runner at second and first. Here's the pitch to Springer, swung on, and again fouled back. Nice little battle going on here.
Well, that time John got away with one because that was his straight change, and unfortunately he threw it right over the middle of the plate, belt high. He hasn't missed with too many pitches here this afternoon.
Good crowd on hand. They had nearly 30,000 yesterday as they braved the Mother Nature outside to get into the ballpark. Of course, it was indoor baseball yesterday as well. A little low. And now, Steve, here in the bottom of the third inning with the White Sox leading 4-0, it's going to be a 3-2 pitch with one out.
With Springer's propensity to strike out and the fact that Castro doesn't have great speed, I would doubt if you would see the runners going, but maybe A.J. Hinch is unconventional.
Springer has struck out 5 times in this series.
Jose Altuve in the on-deck circle.
Danks at the belt, the pitch, swung on, there's a base hit to left. And now Houston with the bags loaded here at Minute Maid Park, and only one out.
So you see the big difference with Johnny Danks. On pitch tracks, watch where this pitch is. It's a changeup, and it's up. And this has been the case. We've been talking about it most of this year when John keeps a changeup down. That's at best a ground ball to shortstop, maybe a double play. But when he gets it up, guys get a much better look at it, and Springer hit that one awfully hard. Fortunately, so hard that there was no way that Castro could score.
So now Jose Altuve, the face of the Houston franchise. You can talk about in the city, J.J. Watt, spectacular defensive end for the Texans, and you've got James Harden and Dwight Howard with the Rockets. This guy is baseball here in Houston.
He's only fanned 20 times this year and 203 at-bats. So he's going to make some contact. Can he get him to hit the ball on the ground? He's grounded into 5 double plays this year, despite being a very fast runner.
Bases loaded with only 1 out for Houston with Altuve at the plate. Here's the pitch. Inside. Houston with 3 hits, all coming here in the bottom of the 3rd. You look at Castro at 3rd, Marisnik at 2nd, Springer at 1st.
Very good speed at 2nd and 1st.
And the pitch. Here's a ground ball to Sanchez. Can they turn to Ramirez? And did he get his foot on the back? No, and a run scores.
Well, you can credit George Springer with getting down the line and disrupting the timing of that play. It looked like a tailor-made too. Altuve hit it hard. Unfortunately, the run scored as the double play was not made. And we'll watch it again. Good throw, and Alexei trying to go up and over, pulls Adam LaRoche off the bag. That turns into a run batted in, the 26th for Altuve. Cuts the lead to 4-1, and what they want to do is they want to see if perhaps LaRoche's foot was still on the bag. Robin is checking with Mark Parent to see if he wants to challenge this. Adam was able to lay out. He's a very talented first baseman. Could very well be that his foot was on the bag, and I would think that Robin is going to say, go to the bat phones, boys.
Why not? There's Country Joe West. Been an umpire in the big league since 1976. He probably worked a number of your games, Stephen.
Take a look at this. Good pick by LaRoche. If his foot is on the bag, it's a double play. The ball was in the glove. It appears right there that his foot is on the bag before Altuve gets to the bag. Now, because it's obscured, that might not be a definitive look. But if you splice together the 2 looks, the last one established the fact that the ball was in his glove. That one seems to establish that the ball was in the glove and the foot was on the bag before Altuve got there. Again, definitive proof is the key. And it looks like they're not going to spend a long time on this review. Joe West is taking off the earphones, and he's out at first base.
So a double play. And they'll do it here in the bottom of the 3rd as the White Sox lead the Astros. Flowers will lead off the fourth for the White Sox as the Sox challenged that call on the field, and Altuve grounds into a double play, and we are in the top of the fourth. It's 4-0 White Sox.
Here's our Mazda replay, and this is our super slow-mo replay cam. As you can see, the ball's clearly in the glove. His foot is clearly not on the bag.
A one-hopper to VR, and a 6-3 out here in the top of the fourth.
Just an outstanding play at first base by Adam LaRoche, and a good job of going up and over George Springer by Alexi Ramirez.
Our Twitter address, Swersko54. That's SWIRSK054. That is my personal Twitter, but I will be more than happy. It's like a 4-6-3 double play. I'm going to just shovel the ball, and you're going to complete it. And we have a lot of questions for you, Steve. Some very loyal Sox fans, baseball fans catching us on WGN TV about the Sox, and I know how much you enjoy interacting with our fan base as well.
I do indeed, and don't get a chance to do it quite as much as I'd like.
We're going to work in some questions during the middle innings. We have one of our questions is about the draft. How did you feel when you were drafted by the Giants?
Felt a lot better than I was drafted first by the Indians, because the Giants actually signed me. The Indians drafted me in the June draft, 16th round. I went to Cape Cod, play summer baseball. Unfortunately, got monohepatitis and anemia. Didn't sign. And the Giants, there was a winter draft then. The Giants drafted me in the winter draft, and I did sign with them. But it's thrilling. I mean, you see your name, they call you, you know you have a chance to play professional baseball. And at that point, the money was irrelevant as far as the opportunity. You took the opportunity regardless of what they wanted to pay you. If you were a high draft choice, well, you were paid a whole lot more.
Sanchez swings and misses, struck him out. Here's another Twitter, Steve, from CJ Kaponsky, and he wants to know about Micah Johnson, your impressions of Johnson when you saw him.
I think Micah needs to smooth out his defensive game. If he can do that, I know he can be a plus offensively, and quite obviously he can run. That will be disruptive as far as the offense goes, but right now the defense is not where it should be.
Adam Eaton at the plate takes a cold strike, and here's another one now, Steve, from Sam Schlexner. A question for Steve Stone. What is your advice for aspiring young pitchers?
Get a college degree.
True.
Only because aspiring young pitchers, like aspiring young players, the odds are overwhelmingly against you. Somebody has to make it, and if it's not you, it would help to have an education you can take forward for the rest of your life.
Eaton with a lazy fly ball to left center field. Maristic makes the catch, and just like that, the top of the fourth, and we're retired. So we will return to Houston, take some more Twitter questions. We enjoy it here on WGN TV.
Sox game day, and you might be today's White Sox fan of the game. White Sox fan photo of the game is brought to you by Beggar's Pizza, now with 22 locations. Visit beggarspizza.com. Beggar's Pizza, they lay it on thick.
We go to the bottom of the fourth here in Houston as the White Sox lead 4-0 behind Banks, and some great timely hitting. Preston Tucker at the plate. All right, Twitter, Swersko54. We love peppering questions for Steve Stone, as I've done for the past week, and I'm warning him out that I'm having a great time talking baseball, because after all, we have a lot of time. Here's Preston Tucker, and a fly ball to right center. Garcia camped under it and makes the grab. So here's a question. They want to know about Philadelphia. What's going on? We have a Philly fan. They've lost 6 in a row, Steve. A season where it's 13 under 500.
Well, right now, they're in a position where they have one huge bargaining chip, and that's Cole Hamels. They are rumored to be trading Ryan Howard, or attempting to trade him. And if that's the case, what has to happen with Philadelphia? They have been allowed to get old seemingly all at one time. And with Ryan Sandberg, the manager, he doesn't have a great deal to work with. So I would think that Ruben Amaro Jr., who is the general manager, would be accepting all offers for Cole Hamels.
Ground ball to LaRoche. He leads Danks to the bag, and he's out.
That's pretty much the story out of Philadelphia. It's been most disappointing. They're 19-32. 10 games in back of Washington. They're not going any place this year. Yet they do have some very intriguing parts if you take them apart, and that's what Ruben Amaro is thinking about right now.
Here's Twitter from Benjamin Hernandez. Stevie wants to know the Sox in the draft. What are they looking for?
I believe what's going to happen is they're going to wait and see the guy on their board who best suits a college pitcher, and I would assume preferably a right-hander, but that's, I think, who's eventually going to fall to the Sox. There's a lot of really good young pitchers around in this draft.
And the Sox, correct me if I'm wrong, Steve, they draft 8th, is that correct?
Yes. And I'm talking about guys like Dylan Tate, a right-hander out of Santa Barbara. Perhaps Carson Fulmer, a right-hander out of Vanderbilt. They don't believe that Tyler Jay out of the University of Illinois, a left-hander, is going to be around when they pick. But we'll just have to see. It's a deep draft.
There's a wall-hit ball to left center field by Carter, and that's all the way to the wall. Adam Eaton retrieves, and Carter with a stand-up double here with 2 outs in the bottom of the fourth for Houston.
Houston threatened last inning, and yet again another high changeup. Johnny's thrown the last few belt high, and this one cost him a 2-base hit. And for Valbuena, who's really struggled at third base and struggled with his batting average, he's got to show A.J. Hinch that he can play just about every day until they work something out. And he's got some pop to left field into those Crawford boxes.
4-0 White Sox. Here's the pitch. You talk about the draft. Houston with the 2nd and 5th overall picks. We're going to be in Arlington on Tuesday. The Rangers with the 4th pick in the draft.
A Texas flavor to the draft this year.
A little salsa on top of that. A little spicy action coming up in a week. Valbuena swings. Adam Eaton backs up a couple of steps, makes the grab, and the inning is over. 4-0 White Sox. We go to the 5th here at Minute Maid Park.
Sox fans, June 7th is Strikeout Stroke Day at U.S. Cellular Field. Join the White Sox in their effort to raise awareness of the stroke warning signs and the importance of acting F-A-S-T. Fast. All of those are warning signs. Learn about them. Purchase your tickets today by visiting whitesox.com/strikeoutstroke.
4-6-0 for the White Sox. Houston, no runs, 4 hits, no errors here in the top of the 5th in the series finale at Minute Maid Park. Melky Cabrera with his 3rd at bat this afternoon. He grounded to short in the first, doubled to left in the 3rd. Roberto Hernandez. And an easy ground ball. Carter waves Hernandez off, takes it to the bag. Speaking of Houston, this was an expansion ball club in the early 60s, as you know, Steve, and they moved into the Astrodome, the 8th wonder of the world.
Yes.
Back in 1965. Now, we've been at Minute Maid last 16 years, Houston has, and the Astrodome right now, just a big white elephant. But when they opened up the Astrodome, the Yankees played an exhibition game. First home run ever hit in the Astrodome, Mickey Mantle. And in attendance was the President of the United States at that time. It was another Texan, Lyndon Johnson. Now, you were coming out of the bullpen.
That was a great place to pitch, by the way.
Was it really?
Yeah, that first, I wasn't out of the bullpen then, but I loved to pitch in the Astrodome. What I didn't like was the ability of the Astro pitchers, because they had a huge, hard-throwing bunch of guys. They kept running out there in the starting rotation. They threw just as hard out of that bullpen. In fact, we ran into one here the last couple of days. Larry Dierker, one of the all-time greats of the Astros, now is an assistant to the general manager as well as a radio broadcaster. He's doing 6 games. So he's an ambassador for the ball club. He signs autographs, does 6 games a year so they don't tire him out. But what a terrific guy and what a great pitcher Larry Dierker was.
And he also managed here.
He did, and he managed successfully.
Here's Hernandez. LaRoche with a big swing at a miss. Well, yeah, so here's the story yesterday, folks. I'm not making this up. Larry Dierker comes into the booth. Steve is to my right. We're talking baseball. And, I went on Baseball Reference. And you faced Larry Dierker a couple of times early in your career.
I did.
And it was great to see those lineups way back in the day. Jimmy, the toy cannon win in the lineup.
One time out of the bullpen and one time I started against him, where I got a no decision, he got a no decision. But what a pitcher. I mean, he probably threw it 98 miles an hour. And he was one of those guys. In those days, it was common. One of those guys who you gave him the ball, you expected him to be out there for 9 innings, and more times than not, 9 innings, he was out there.
Your record in the Dome, Steve, 1-3 with a .355 earned run average.
But that's deceiving. I wasn't getting a whole lot of runs in those days.
Here's LaRoche, fouled off to the left. He grounded to second in the first, walked in the third. White Sox with a 4-0 lead on 6 hits. When you ran down the list of who was in opening day, and we chronicled that in the Baltimore series because Chris Beck made his major league debut, and you were talking about Mays and McCovey.
And Marichal, Perry, and Bonds. Some pretty good players on those Giants teams in those days. National League seemed to have Hall of Famers everywhere you went. Almost every team had a couple of them. In this day and age, you don't see it all that often, but we had 4 future Hall of Famers on that Giant crew in '71.
LaRoche lifts it to right center field. Risnick with the catch. Yeah, I mean, in those years, I mean, you would have, in the 60s and 70s, you had great pitchers. I mean, in the 60s, you had Koufax. San Francisco, you had Marichal. The Cardinals had Bob Gibson. I mean, that's unbelievable.
Pretty good. And what we're seeing today is teams bring up a lot of guys that throw equally as hard as all of those guys, but they're not going as long, and they're getting hurt more frequently. And that's one of the things, Chuck, that doesn't make a great deal of sense. And that's the reason why, if guys today are bigger, stronger, faster, and quicker than they've ever been in the history of our species, why is it today more guys are getting hurt than ever before? They're throwing less innings, they're making less starts, and yet they're getting more injuries.
It's baffling.
I think one of the reasons why is they don't pitch a lot of innings when they come into professional baseball. And there's another factor that I've always espoused, and that is using your legs more than your upper body to pitch. Leg drive, very important.
Outside.
Reason being that your legs are the biggest muscles in your body. If you use your legs, and I always felt if your legs could carry you for 6, your arm could carry you for 3. Nowadays, we've got a lot of tall pitchers. They don't use their legs enough, and I think it puts an inordinate strain on the arm. Consequently, lots of successful surgeons.
2-2 pitch. Nolan Ryan often said, because people looked at that arm and he said, no, it's my lower body that helps me.
He came up with the Mets in an era, along with Tom Seaver, where they used a method called drop and drive, where they would get their right knee, which was the knee you drive off the pitching rubber, on the ground as they came at the hitter. They would spring at the hitter, and it was a great way to pitch.
Yeah, that Met rotation, Gary Gentry, Jerry Koosman, Tom Seaver, they had some arms. Nolan Ryan.
Nolan was in the bullpen. And so, yeah, they were really good.
And then Nolan Ryan got traded for Jim Fregosi.
Yes, he did.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs here in the top of the 5th. 4-0 White Sox. Garcia stepping in against Roberto Hernandez. Garcia grounded to second in the first, fly to center with the bags loaded in the 3rd.
You got to figure if Avi gets one down and he's looking down because that's where Hernandez is staying, he's going to hit it hard. That he took something off of. That was 83 miles an hour. That was a pretty decent off-speed pitch. In fact, at first it identifies as a splitter. It's really not. It's his changeup. It seems to move like a splitter. It sinks. When he keeps it down, very effective.
Hernandez. And that's a base hit up the middle for Garcia.
He got that fastball down that he wanted. Couldn't get any elevation on it, but didn't have to, as he took it right back through, kept the inning alive, and left it for Connor Gillespie. So you look at the location on our Xfinity pitch tracks. He gets that sinker in a perfect spot. Good 2-strike swing.
That's going to bring on the designated hitter, Connor Gillespie, who's 2 for 2. Had a 2-run single to right in the 3rd. It's 4-0 White Sox. We have 2 outs here in the top of the 5th.
In the 3rd inning, Connor comes up, eases it through the right side, past a diving Altuve. It scores a couple. And a heads-up base running play. So Adam LaRoche go into 3rd base, knowing that the throw was not going to be cut off, and they didn't get him at 3rd. And he scored then on a ground ball in the infield.
0-1 pitch, Hernandez to Connor Gillespie. Robin Ventura told reporters prior to the ball game that as a DH, and he was a DH sometimes when Ventura played, that you have to remain engaged, either in the dugout, making sure you're locked in, or perhaps checking out the video room.
And that's what Evan Gattis was talking about, the fact that you do have the advantage of using video to look at the pitcher and what he's doing to other guys.
Gillespie going the other way. Diving play. What a stab by Preston Tucker. Wow. So Preston Tucker. Beautiful. Well, the White Sox almost did some damage, but we go to the bottom of the inning, but the White Sox still in front. Welcome back to Minute Maid Park, downtown Houston, Texas. Chuck Swirsky filling in for the Hawk, Ken Harrelson, alongside former Cy Young Award winner Steve Stone with Jonathan VR at the plate. VR grounded to Beckham in the third. Gordon made a fabulous play, and that was a rocket.
Gordon is playing just about where he is now, which is a couple steps in front of the bag. And he was able to keep it out of left field. Threw out VR easily, but that leading off the inning could have caused a great deal of difficulty. If he gets on, then the base hit by Castro, the base hit by Marisnick, and the base hit by Springer. Springer really causes some problems. And there's a look at the president of baseball operations, Reed Ryan, who is on the left. That is the son of Nolan Ryan. And the retired number of Nolan Ryan.
Now, is Nolan, Steve, is he back with the Rangers in some capacity?
I think Nolan Ryan is an executive advisor here with the Astros.
He was with Texas.
He was, yes, he was. But now the Ryans have moved and cast their lot with the Astros.
Here's VR. Adam Eaton, it goes over his head, and it's rolling to Charles Hill. All the way to the wall. VR turns the corner at third. We could have a play at the plate. VR to the plate. The throw. He is out.
Two pretty good relays after Adam misjudged a line drive. And bear in mind, in center field, the toughest play to make is a line drive over your head. So Adam took a step in only to see that ball accelerate over his head. It's a 4-0 game. VR should be on third base. He's not, fortunately, and the throw by Alexi as Adam chases it down, gets it back in. Ramirez has got it, and he's out rather easily at the plate. Good solid throw. Tyler comes up, tags the front foot. VR is out. Pretty costly gamble with nobody out when you're down 4 runs.
So you can score at 8-6-2.
You can score a 3-base hit and an ill-advised adventures at the plate.
Here's Castro in right field, and that is Garcia with the catch. All right, so Nolan Ryan went into the Hall of Fame as a Texas Ranger. Craig Biggio is going to become the first quote-unquote true Astro to go into Cooperstown. They've had players that have come through Houston that have ended up in the Hall of Fame, but Biggio is going in as an Astro.
And what a career he had. He won a Gold Glove as a catcher. Then he won a Gold Glove as a second baseman. And then he went out and played more than a credible center field. You're not going to see that very often. A guy can move from behind the plate to second and then center field. You look at those numbers, 2,850 hits, 281 batting average, or rather 3,000 hits.
Marisnick swings down the left field line out of play.
Pretty remarkable career for Biggio. And as far as an athlete is concerned, you don't find him much better than that. Hall of Fame ceremonies July 26th, 668 doubles. Was not a power hitter, but almost hit 300 home runs and stole 414 bases. So overall, a no doubt Hall of Famer, especially when you consider the versatility that he showed.
When did they move him from catcher? Early in his career, Steve?
Not all that early. He caught for a while. But they felt that his career would be a lot longer if he stayed at second, and that certainly proved out. And again, you don't find a lot of guys who can play second base move to center field, let alone a guy who can catch, play second base, and move to center field.
They have 2 outs, 1-2 pitch to Marisnick, 2-2 count. Yeah, he was outstanding. Just a great day in, day out player who got it done. 4-7-0 for the White Sox. No runs, 5 hits, no errors for Houston. Marisnick. And that's a shot down the left field line. Let's see how Melky plays this. Marisnick going into second, diving head first, and he's safe.
They've tried to run on Melky a few times in this series with mixed results. This time just a touch late, the 7th double of the year, and the second hit. Marisnick had a bunt base hit back in the 3rd inning, and now he runs what appeared to be a single into a double. And Johnny gets that straight change up again. Good solid throw, but just a touch late.
We have 2 outs here in the bottom of the 5th. For the Houston Astros, Danks delivers with a man on second. This is George Springer. Springer struck out in the 1st, single to left in the 3rd.
And now you see the tremendous gamble taken and lost by Villar leading off the inning. This inning would shape up a lot differently.
When you're down 4-0, should have put on the brakes at 3rd.
Absolutely. There's a look at Gary Pettis.
He was a pretty good player in his day.
He was a very good player.
Oh, 2 pitch. Danks to Springer. We're going to get to more of your Twitter questions in the top of the 6th. We are flooded with them, and if we can't get to them, folks, I promise you during the course of the Texas series, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, we will address more, and we will do that every ball game right here in the middle innings with White Sox TV.
Well, I make a suggestion to you, and this is pretty good because I know you want to make yourself the best baseball broadcaster you can. So on a rare off day that we have tomorrow, you can go to Round Rock, which is a AAA ball club, and actually do a game on your off day, a minor league game at AAA Round Rock.
Well, I'll tell you what, if that's a suggestion, I will gladly do it. Anything to improve, Steve. Trust me.
There could very well be a Danks playing in that game.
2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs. Well, this has been a joy. I'm being spoon-fed literally because, I mean, this is just, this is a thrill. It really is to call a Major League Baseball game with a former Cy Young Award winner. And is that a called strike? So Springer went around. Yeah, he went around. He didn't think he did, but he did. So we go to the top of the 6th here in Houston. And the White Sox in front here at Minute Maid Park.
Hey, Chicagoland viewers, it's time for the Subway 6th inning. Text Subway to 97999 right now for your chance to win 6 meals from the Simple 6 menu from Subway. Message and data rates may apply, so Subway, eat fresh.
Top of the sixth here in Houston, 4-7-0 for the White Sox, who got a run in the second, 3 more in the third. And the Astros have collected 6 hits. Roberto Hernandez remains on the mound for A.J. Finch's team. Here's Ramirez with a ground ball to VR. And he threw it away. And Ramirez is going to be safe.
Well, pretty good job of coaching by Darrell Boston at first base. The reason being that although that ball got by at first, Chris Carter got the carom and it came right back to him. If Alexei even breaks towards second base, all Carter has got to do is tag it. So that's what Darrell Boston was telling Alexei. He's pointing to the bag saying, stay right here. And we've seen VR very inconsistent with his throws, and it doesn't matter if he's playing third or short.
Gordon Beckham at the plate, singled to second. In the second, grounded to third in the third. That was an error on VR. Here's Hernandez with a runner on for the White Sox. 4-0 White Sox. Again, we'll go to Twitter questions with the Sox having a runner on first with nobody out here in the sixth. Got a question coming up from Lenny Kuspert about baseball players and the hardware they carry. Here's Beckham. Oh, that was going to be an out, and then the throw to first as hustling back on the play.
Gordon hits the daylights out of that one. It stays in the air, and if VR gets up and fires to first, they have the double play. So he made the catch, and then he's saying he couldn't get a grip on the baseball. And Alexei gets back.
So Ramirez stays on first.
Gordon bidding for his second hit. This is a rocket. And once again, VR almost throws it away.
But Tyler Flowers at the plate. He singled up the middle, scoring Gillespie in the second, grounded to short in the fourth. Here's the pitch. So here is a question from Lenny Kuspert about the players. Do they buy their own equipment or bats?
If they bought their own bats, we wouldn't see near as many very small handles as we see. Now with the maple bats, the handles are not near what they used to be like years ago. And consequently, the bats break a lot more frequently. No, the players do not pay for their own bats.
Flowers with a high fly ball to center field. Marisnik under it, makes the catch. Ramirez returns to first.
White Sox fans, join us on Friday, June 19th for Mullet Night, presented by Great Clips. Mullet Night features haircuts and mullet wigs for purchase to support Ronald McDonald House Charities and a post-game fireworks show. So Great Clips, it's going to be great. To purchase tickets, visit whitesox.com. One of my favorite nights, mullet nights, especially like the guys with mullets with no hair on top.
2 outs in the sixth. Sanchez grounded to short in the second, struck out in the fourth. Ramirez remains at first.
Now that's an option you should keep open, because you wouldn't look bad with, a nice mullet.
My broadcast partner with the Bulls, Bill Wennington, had a mullet during the glory years of the Bulls. He did. He's got the pictures to prove it, and you can go on Google. We have 2 outs, 4-0 White Sox here in the sixth. Sanchez steps away. We're going to have a conference. Steve, here's another question from Meredith Perret. And she wants to know your favorite ballpark as a pitcher and your favorite ballpark as a broadcaster.
I love Dodger Stadium because they had some nice memories there. The All-Star game of 1980 being among them, shutting them out 1-0 in their ballpark, which was the first time ever San Francisco Giant pitcher shut out the Dodgers 1-0 in Chavez Ravine. So that, for me, was a place that I enjoyed. Great pitcher's park. You couldn't hit the ball out. It was just terrific. And as a broadcaster, I got to tell you that U.S. Cellular Field's got such a great view, and the booth is so comfortable. That's one of the best in baseball when all things are considered. Granted, it's our home park, so obviously you'd expect that the home booth would be good. This park right here, we get a great view here. This is a very comfortable place to broadcast. So there's a lot of them. They make it very easy on us these days.
Now, Steve, during the ball game, this is kind of an interesting question, because I've been asked by a lot of people regarding, okay, so you're a pitcher, you walk off the mound, you try and collect your thoughts. Do you ever go into the clubhouse, or did you remain in the in the dugout.
You'd go in the clubhouse to change shirts. Sometimes on a very warm, humid day, you'd certainly want to get a new undershirt, and you did then. You didn't usually go in the locker room to do much of anything else except, obviously, change something about what you were wearing, especially if it's very hot and humid. It's not all that bad down on the field here in the Dome. But in the old stadium, the first stadium they ever played at here in Houston was called Colt 45 Stadium.
That was their original nickname. Runner takes off for Ramirez. Here's the throw to second. Alexi slides, and he is safe.
That's number 2 for Alexi. And we told you the stolen base with this combination of Hernandez and Castro is open all day long. And Alexi beats this play easily. Good jump. Hernandez doesn't pay much attention. It's not a good throw, and he's in. At Colt 45 Stadium, very humid with gigantic mosquitoes, and they did have, for 25 cents, some bug spray.
Sanchez up the middle for a base hit. Ramirez turns third. We're going to have a play offline. Ramirez scores. Sanchez to second.
Good hustle on the play. Alexi and his stolen base set it up. RBI number 3 for Sanchez. He eased it up the middle. Then they outran the arm of Marisnik, and on the throw home, Sanchez goes into second base. That one just by a diving VR. So it would appear that that's going to be it for Hernandez, as he's going to depart this one. So as he walks out, trailing 5-0, we'll step out and be back after these messages. By Jeff Vukovich, your local Nationwide insurance agent, serving the area for 37 years. To visit the nation, visit jeffvuk.com, because Nationwide is on your side. And there's a look at Tony Sipp, who comes into the ball game at 2-2, the ERA 2.45, on for the 20th time. Opponent's hitting just 209, which is a good number. What hasn't been good, the last 3 times he's been put in key situations, he's been torched.
Eaton at the plate. There's a ground ball to Carter. He's going to take it to the bag, and that retires the side. But the White Sox do some damage, scored a run here in the 6th. But the White Sox, with a 5-0 lead, will return from Minute Maid Park. Welcome back to Houston, bottom of the 6th. Alongside Steve Stone, filling in for the great Hawk Harrelson, this Chuck Swirsky, Jose Altuve, who's 0 for 2. He stranded 3 runners this afternoon. Want to give big White Sox welcome and a hello to Napoleon Montgomery Sr., 97 years young, a very faithful, longtime listener and viewer in Chicago to White Sox baseball.
What a small world, because gentleman that I know, recuperating from recent surgery, a little younger than Napoleon. He's only 94, but Mike Layden looking on, a longtime Sox fan.
It's a foul ball. How about that? 97 and 94, and they look so alive when it comes to baseball. They're still into the sport. It's great.
What I love is the fact that doesn't matter what age you are, you can see grandfathers taking sons and grandchildren, great-grandfathers, great-grandmothers coming to the park with their sons and daughters, and that's how the sport gets perpetuated. You bring the youngsters to the ballpark, you get them to enjoy what the ballpark has to give them, and they become hooked on baseball.
Altuve slaps that ball in the left field for a base hit. On an 0-2 pitch.
Hey, Sox fans, the Xfinity Fundamentals deck overlooking left field at U.S. Cellular Field is accessible from the 100, 300, and 500 levels. Learn baseball fundamentals from Chicago White Sox Training Academy coaches in the batting and pitching cages, as well as the base running areas and more. It's all from Xfinity, your home for the most live sports.
That's going to bring on Preston Tucker. Tucker popped up to Sanchez in the first, fly to Garcia in the fourth. Altuve at first. Here's the pitch to Tucker. It's going to be out of play. As you mentioned, the thread of generation to generation. There's a gentleman when the Bulls go into Brooklyn, and he helps us out. He's saw the old Brooklyn Dodgers, and he hears stories of the old Brooklyn Dodgers before they moved west to L.A. He's a historian. He just loves talking baseball, talking about the old New York Giants and the rivalry with the Brooklyn Dodgers.
Don't forget that there was 3 teams there in New York, and the fans of all of them were equally as fervent. And you had, of course, Mickey Mantle and Duke Snider and Willie Mays all playing center field essentially at the same time. It was a golden era for baseball in New York, certainly. And then, of course, the Giants and the Dodgers moved out west. Their rivalry continues, and they're neck and neck in the West as we speak.
With 2 outs to Preston Tucker, had a couple of hits in each of Friday and Saturday's game from the University of Florida.
Jake Buchanan loosening in the pen. He was one of the guys that was able to stay out of that first game, that extra inning affair that went 11. They used 8 pitchers, and Buchanan was the next guy up and ready to come in, but it ended.
And Tucker swings and misses. He struck him out. What are your thoughts on Dinks this afternoon, Steve?
I think he's been pretty good for the most part. This is a changeup, and you don't see a whole lot of left-handers willing to throw changeups to lefties, but he kept that ball away. He's got out of some tough jams. He's had some help by the Astros, some bad base running on the part of VR. But when John's had to make a pitch this afternoon, he's made it. And the numbers looking pretty good. It also helps that he's got a 5-run lead, but Johnny, who's never fared well against this Astro team, is doing a good job here this afternoon.
Gaddis takes high. Evan Gaddis played on a travel team called the Dallas Tigers, Steve. On that ball club, Clayton Kershaw, Billy Butler, Homer Bailey, and Justin Upton. I want to get into that in a moment.
I would assume they were pretty good.
Yeah. Here's a pitch swung on. Here's Beckham going to second for one. Sanchez, and LaRoche puts the foot on the bag, and that is a double play. Beautifully done by the White Sox. And we go to the top of the 7th here in Houston, Texas. Danks roll it along here with a shutout. White Sox in front, 5-zip.
Done a great job, and Chuck, so far, Sox are looking good. If they win this ball game, they'll be 4-4 on the road trip. A road trip that you piloted.
Well, White Sox have something to do with it. But you know what, Steve? Timely hitting, pitching. It's amazing what happens when you combine both.
Well, there's no doubt that Johnny Danks is pitching the best game he's ever pitched against the Astros, and the offense has come to play today, as well as the defense, so things have gone pretty well.
Melky Cabrera will lead off here in the 7th inning.
And he'll face Jake Buchanan, who comes on for the 3rd time. He does not have an ERA. He's only pitched 3 2/3 innings. So after wearing out the bullpen and knowing that Baltimore is coming to town for 4 games starting tomorrow, there's nothing that A.J. Hinch wants more than a couple of innings from Buchanan, who can go 3.
So, Steve, before the break, we were talking about Gaddis with that travel team.
Yes.
Loaded with future Major League stars. Did you, we hear a lot about the Cape Cod League.
Yeah.
Were you involved in that at one point? Here's Cabrera. Ground ball to Altuve, moves over to his left. An easy throw to first.
I was invited up there by Thurman Munson, who was my catcher in college. He said, we're going to have the best team on the Cape. We're going to have Bobby Valentine, who became a pretty good player as well as a manager. We're going to have John Curtis. We're going to have me, meaning Munson. We're going to have me, meaning me. And we're going to have Rich McKinney, a guy who the White Sox signed. And so I went up there, and I lasted 2 weeks before I got mono and hepatitis and had to go home. And Munson signed with the New York Yankees for $110,000, and John Curtis signed with Boston for $100,000, and Bobby Valentine signed with the Dodgers for $65,000. Rich McKinney signed with the White Sox for $35,000. Everybody left, and I was up there in the hospital. So I really enjoyed my experience in Cape Cod. Thanks for bringing it up, Chuck.
I'm not bad, Steve. I'm sorry. I'm going home. Adam LaRoche grounded the 2nd in the 1st, walked in the 3rd, fly to center in the 5th.
It was actually a great time, and for guys who want to play a top flight summer league baseball, there's a few leagues around, the Cape Cod being one of them, and it's still awfully good. So college players getting that opportunity, I would say take it, jump at it, and enjoy it.
Now, are you invited, or can you request that, hey, if you have a slot, I'd like to play?
In my case, I was invited, and then it was okayed to go up there. And I don't know how it works today. I'm not sure exactly what they do, but they recruit. I mean, they look around and they see the best players around. They ask them if they'd like to come up, and that's how it works out. 3
balls, 2 strikes, and an out. Here in the top of the 7th, the White Sox trying to get this series, take 2 of 3. LaRoche goes the other way to left field, and that ball is out of here. Adam LaRoche with a solo blast, and the White Sox lead 6-0.
Home run number 6, RBI number 22, and those are those very friendly Crawford boxes. We've been telling you all series that a left-hand hitter that can go to left field will find a very friendly place to hit a home run. So we'll take another look at it as Buchanan is welcomed rather rudely into the 7th inning. That ball up and away, and Adam goes that way.
Now, it's great to see Adam's young son is at the ballpark this afternoon. Thrilled for him, thrilled for the family. Garcia with a swing and a miss. Here's another Twitter question. We love getting your tweets. Swersco54. Speaking of family, they wanted to know, Steve, did you ever pitch in front of your family? Did they come see you play when you were a big league ball player?
As soon as they could save up enough money, Chuck, to pay for their own tickets, yes. I was able, actually, I had 3 no decisions my first 3 starts, invited them to Pittsburgh to pitch against the Pirates, was my 4th start, and wound up shutting out the Pirates for my first major league win in front of my friends, my family. It was really a thrill, and I think it's great for all the young pitchers we see. Their parents are usually in attendance, and it's a thrill for the parents as much as it is for the player.
In the cases you mentioned with John Danks, he has family members here.
He does, and I think that has a whole lot to do with what's happening today, because he's been frustrated by what's happening this year. Nobody had to tell him that he's gotten a lot of the changeups up or that he's not had the success that he wants to have. This, against a first-place Houston team, certainly a measure of redemption for Johnny Danks.
Here's Garcia. Center fielder Marisnik tracks it down. And that 71 ball club for the Pirates that you shut out, Steve, went on to win the National League that year. And then they beat Baltimore in the World Series. That was a very good Pirate ball club. Clemente was on that team. Willie Stargell was on that team.
Yeah, they weren't really good. They weren't hitting that particular evening, but yeah, they were okay players. They turned out okay.
Who else was on that team? Let's see, Bob Robertson or Manny Sanguillen?
They were both on that team.
Al Oliver, he could swing a bat.
He actually spent a little time at Kent State University, as you know, being from the MAC. Kent State, the Harvard of the Midwest. And if you academically could not make it to Kent State, then you went to either Ohio U or Miami of Ohio.
And you mentioned that because Adam Eaton went to Miami of Ohio. I attended Ohio University. Had to get that little dig in. Here's a ground ball. Hunter Gillespie. And he is tossed out. Altuve over to his left. But the White Sox had a solo home run off the bat of Adam LaRoche. And the White Sox go to the bottom of the 7th in control here in Houston, Texas. You can beat fun at the old ballpark, Steve.
Especially with Orbit around. That furry green fellow.
Well, the hitting and the pitching have come together for the White Sox, trying to take 2 out of 3 here against the Astros. A day off tomorrow, and then it's on to take on the Texas Rangers with Prince Fielder, who's having a monster season.
And coming in here with the Astros playing as well as they were playing, the likelihood of taking 2 out of 3 was not particularly good. So winning an extra inning game on the road is something that's very difficult to do, especially against a team that's playing good baseball, and the Astros are doing that. That's why that first game was such a big game, especially yesterday. You run into Dallas Keuchel with no chance at all to hit him. It appeared that if that one went 12 or 13 innings, the Sox would still not have hit Dallas Keuchel. He was that good and that overwhelming. A career high in strikeouts with 11. So you come back today with Johnny Danks putting together a terrific performance. You certainly get some runs early in this one. You got 1 in the second, 3 in the third, giving Johnny Danks a bit of a cushion. And then add-on scoring after that.
So here in the bottom of the 7th at Minute Maid Park, Chris Carter will step in. He's 1 for 2, batting 192 on the season.
The Astros have a youngster by the name of Derek Fisher in their system. He's 21 years old. They elevated him into the California League. First game in the Cal League. He hits 3 home runs, including 2 grand slams, a bases clearing double, and drives in 12 runs. 12 runs in one game.
Not to be confused with the Derek Fisher of the Knicks.
No.
The head coach of the Knicks suffered their worst franchise record ever in regular season play. Hey, Steve, here's another Twitter question. A fan wants to know about his ball club that he follows, the Milwaukee Brewers. The Brewers at 16-34. They're 47-82 since going 19 over 500 last June 28th. Here's the pitch to Carter. What's happened to the Brew Crew?
Well, outside the fact that they've lost 7 in a row, that they're not hitting or pitching particularly well, that they're 8-20 at home and 8-14 on the road, that they have gotten decimated by the Central. The West is killing them. They're 2-12 against them. Actually, nothing is wrong with them.
Carter strikes out here in the bottom of the 7th. Valbuena at the plate.
A lot of people felt that the Brewers would be right there this year. And then Aramis Ramirez got hurt. Gomez was hurt for a while. The pitching staff hasn't been the same. It's been a rough go. It cost Ron Renicky his job. Now Craig Counsell is the manager. So Milwaukee is having a very tough time. They're actually the one team that not even a glimmer of hope. 16.5 back coming in. St. Louis running away with it, at least for the moment in the Central. So Doug Melvin's going to have to make some deals, get them back on the right track.
Danks tossing a shutout here at the expense of the Stros. 6-9-0 for the White Sox, who opened this game with a run in the second. They got 3 in the third, 1 in the 6th. LaRoche went solo in the 7th. The Astros have collected 7 hits this afternoon.
Sox have turned a couple of double plays behind Johnny Danks. And he has yet to walk anybody. So you can give up a lot of hits if you're not walking anybody. And John has given up 7, which is not all that bad against this team.
Well, Reyna swings, and this is a shallow fly ball to Mulkey in left field. Here's another question, Steve, from Pat Harrigan on Twitter. You can follow us on Twitter, Swersko54, SWIRSK054. Want to know, do you play golf? And if you play with the White Sox, who is the best golfer?
It's a good question. Actually, Robin's a pretty good golfer. Harold Bain's a pretty good golfer. I do play golf. Don't play quite as much as I would like. What with all the preparation on the road and all of those things. So it's a great game, a great diversion for a lot of the coaches and some of the players. Doesn't seem to interfere with anything they're doing. But I prefer to do it more times than not in the offseason.
We have 2 outs here in the bottom of the 7th. No 1 pitch coming up to VR. You know, very good golfers are hockey players. And by the way, speaking of hockey, we want to congratulate the Blackhawks. What a great Game 7 last night on the pond in Anaheim, California. They are headed to the finals again for the 3rd time.
What a great performance that started out early. They jumped on top 4-0, completely outplaying them and decimating them in the first period. Despite getting out hit through 2 periods, they were out hit 31-10, but the object is to score and not hit.
There's a line drive, base hit to left field. VR is going to turn the corner. That ball is headed to the wall, picked up by Mulkey, and VR with a stand-up double.
If you're going to give up hits, and you do give up hits, best to give them up with 2 outs in the inning. So high changeup winds up in left field. VR, who had tripled, only to get thrown out at the plate in the 5th inning, coasts into second.
Jason Castro, the catcher for Houston this afternoon. He singled right in the third, fly to Garcia in the fifth. 8 hits now for the Astros. White Sox in front 6-0.
A.J. Hinch, the manager, who was a former catcher, says he's maybe a little bit harder on Jason Castro because he understands how important a catcher can be, and he wants him to think defense and handling pitchers first. Whatever he hits, but he feels it's a defensive position.
There's a bouncing ball backhanded by Sanchez. And now they got in a rundown. Flowers. Beckham goes to Danks. They got VR picked off, and he's tossed and thrown out. Boy, that was a great pickoff on a ridiculous base running maneuver by VR.
Once again, VR helps the Sox get out of the inning, and the score stays at 6-0. Here's our Honda game summary. It's all Sox today. It's 6-0. It's tied at 9. Gillespie 2 for 4 with 2 runs driven in and a run scored. Johnny Danks threw 7, 9 hits, 5 strikeouts, nary a walk, and Adam LaRoche with a solo home run, his 6th, coming in the 7th inning. And that's our Honda game summary, brought to you by Honda Dream Garage Sales Events, now at your Honda dealer. On this rundown, what Carlos has to do is you got to keep running at the base runner. If he keeps running at VR, you're going to get through this rundown with only 1 throw. But the fact that he unloads it early makes many more throws than you really need.
And here in the top of the 8th, Ramirez flies out to Marisnik.
So one of the things for you young players, if you're in the infield or sometimes if you're a pitcher, when you got a guy hung up, run straight at him. Make sure that he commits before you unload the baseball, because bad things happen when you unload the baseball too quickly, and you spend more throws than you really have to, and sometimes a runner gets out of it.
One out here for Gordon Beckham. Beckham singled in the 2nd inning, and then he grounded the 3rd and the 3rd line to shorten the 6th. Overall, though, Steve Stone, 6-0, each team with 9 hits. Danks on the mound. Really good afternoon for the White Sox.
It's been a terrific afternoon to this point. If you can assume a win here, and of course there's never an assumption, but you're in pretty good shape. You find yourself at 4-4 on what everybody knew would be a very difficult road trip, starting north of the border in Toronto, then necessity a doubleheader on games that were canceled in Baltimore. Then it was down here against a good Houston team, and it's going to culminate in Arlington, Texas, against the Rangers, who are hitting everything in sight. The youngster Michael Phillies, he's a hard-throwing young man out of their system. They just called him up. And I'm sure they would like to take a look at him.
We have a ball and 2 strikes with 1 out here in the top of the 8th. Minnesota has put 3 on the board against the Jays in the 6th inning. Tie ball game there at 4-4. Here's the pitch. Little chopper, charging, Balbuena, and a skip and a toss and a throw to Carter, and then out.
Provide your guests with the ultimate all-inclusive White Sox experience in the Home Plate Club or Magellan Scout seats. These 2 premium seating areas are the best way to entertain your most important clients, employees, friends, or family. For more information, call 312-674-1000 or visit whitesox.com/premium seating.
First run of the ball game came off the bat of Tyler Flowers, who singled on a ground ball to center. Gillespie scored. White Sox added 3 more in the 3rd, 1 in the 6th, 1 in the 7th. Easy play for Altuve to Carter. And just like that, here in the top of the 8th, the Sox are retired. We go to the bottom of the 8th at Minute Maid Park. White Sox, however, in front 6-0.
Card only available at your local Wintrust Community Bank. Go to wintrust.com/White Sox to learn more. Wintrust Community Bank, member FDIC.
Bottom of the 8th inning here in Houston. The White Sox with a 6-0 lead. John Danks continues on the mound for Robin Ventura's ball club. Is exactly what the White Sox needed out of Danks this afternoon, coming off a couple of tough starts. Marisnik. It's a foul ball. And nice grab. And what do we have here? That hit the ceiling.
It did hit the ceiling, and Gordon Beckham caught it on the carom.
Yeah.
And apparently the ground rule states that if it does hit the ceiling, regardless of where it bounces back, it's a dead ball. Now Gordon sees it hit the rafters and makes a great catch. Good adjustment, but unfortunately, Gordon can't understand why it's not a putout.
Marisnik with a big swing. It's we don't see that happen, do we?
No, you don't see it much at U.S. Cellular Field.
But indoor facilities, have you seen that? Do you see it a lot with the roof?
You don't see it a lot, but you see it on occasion. Used to see it in the Astrodome and Tampa Bay on occasion. In the meantime, Johnny Danks keeps rolling right along.
Yes, he does. Marisnik strikes out. So George Springer will step in against Danks. Check swing. Strike one.
There you look at some pretty impressive numbers here in the 8th inning. 9 hits and no walks.
Ground ball to Alexei. Gobbles it up. Throws over to first, and Springer retired. Springer now 1 for 4. He's going to bring on Altuve, who's 1 for 3, but he has stranded 3 runners this afternoon. We have 2 outs here, bottom of the 8th, with the White Sox nursing a 6-0 lead. Off day tomorrow, and then the Texas series. And Steve, Jeff Samardzija will get the call on Tuesday against Colby Lewis. Chris Sale scheduled on Wednesday against Nick Martinez. Then on Thursday, Carlos Rodon against Gallardo, Yovani Gallardo.
And Rodon is hoping to build on his performance here in the opener of this series. He went 6 1/3, gave up 3 runs on 8 hits. The big factor for him, no walks and 4 strikeouts. Just a terrific performance for Carlos. And he'll be going against a team who can really hit. This will be a nice test for the youngster.
1-1 the count with 2 outs to Jose Altuve. Beautiful play, Bob Beckham. Did he get him? Got him. Gordon Beckham showing some mitt here. Big time glove this afternoon. How about that, Steve, huh?
What a play, and he's continued to be brilliant on this road trip.
We're going to have a challenge?
And it could very well be that they're thinking about challenging it.
Well, let's pause and wait and see here what develops.
Well, what A.J. Hinch wants to see, and they're looking at the replay to see if he gets a thumbs up. If he gets a thumbs up, they're going to challenge the play. Rob Drake called him out. Great effort by Beckham as he stretches to his left. Off-balance throw. And he got him. So there is going to be no challenge, and the inning is going to end as the ball beats him by an eyelash. Great play by Beckham. And we'll move on with the Sox leading 6-0. Join the 2015 Sox Pride Club for exclusive monthly ticket opportunities featuring locked-in seating locations along with game day audio, membership gifts, and much more, all for just $29.95. Visit SoxPrideClub.com to join today. And we are seeing the Major League debut of Michael Phillies. He's a hard-throwing youngster. That's what he did this year. 5 starts, 9 games overall in 2 levels. And because of injuries, they brought him to the major leagues. He never dreamt that he could get here. Not this quickly, but here he is.
Ranked 5th on the Astros prospect list by Baseball America. Sanchez with a swing and a miss, but Sanchez came up with a big base hit up the middle in the 6th, scoring Ramirez. Phillies kicks and delivers. 0-2, and was the case with Chris the other day in Baltimore. Michael Phillies, that heart is probably pounded and going a mile an hour, 10,000 miles an hour inside.
Well, this guy's come out of A ball, barely had time to make a stop at Double-A, and came right here to the major leagues.
2-2 pitch, nobody out. Mark Parent in a conversation with a cluster of White Sox players. He's a good man, Steve. Here's Sanchez going to deep left field, and that is off the wall. Sanchez motors into second with a stand-up double.
Tucker went back as far as he could go, but to no avail. Here's our Xfinity Speed replay. You see Tucker go back to the wall. This ball hit well, and again, that short porch in left field is inviting for right or left-handers. It hit high off the wall, and the Speed replay is brought to you by Xfinity, your home for the most live sports.
So Adam Eaton stepping in against the youngster making his major league debut, and Michael Phillies. Adam is 1 of 4. He has scored a run, batting .234 on the season. Sanchez at second with a leadoff double here in the top of the 9th. And for the White Sox, they have 10 hits. Houston has 9. But the White Sox have 6 runs, and the Astros have failed to score. 27,423 on hand here at Minute Maid Park. 0-2 pitch coming up to Eaton from Phillies. And a little soft liner taken by VR at short. We have one up. Melky Cabrera, he's 1 for 4, scored a run. We have one out here in the top of the 9th.
And assuming Houston does not come back with a huge rally in the bottom of the 9th inning, they're going to fall to 4.5 games ahead of the Angels, pending their game tonight against Detroit, that game in Anaheim. And they'll only be 4 up in the loss column. So the Angels getting a little closer. Texas, the Rangers getting a little closer, winners of 8 of their last 10.
Pitch by Phillies. Here's Cabrera. Fly ball to left center field on the track, and the catch by Marisnik. And hustling into third. And the White Sox now with 2 outs and at third base. That was heads up base running there. Sanchez taking the bag at third.
Might not come into play today, especially with that play, but you get into good habits, and this game is won or lost 90 feet at a time, whether you take the 90 feet or give up the 90 feet. And again, solid baseball, good fundamentals are habitual. So you tag up whenever you have the opportunity. You can score a lot easier from third than you can from second. Our fourth drive of the game with one out in the seventh. Buchanan on the mound, and the Crawford boxes are a nice home for that fly ball. 6th home run of the year, 22nd driven in for Adam.
LaRoche playing first base with Abreu out with that swollen right index finger. Adam is 1 for 3, as Steve mentioned, with a 6th homer. He scored 2 runs today. We have 2 outs here in the 9th inning. Sanchez at third base.
And I certainly don't remember the picks to click and who picked who, but it seems to me like Adam LaRoche with that home run and a couple of runs scored and a walk and some great defense at first and a good beard and being a terrific guy. He absolutely deserves to be the pick to click.
No, Steve, wait a minute. I took Connor Gillespie. He was DHing today for the first time of the season. He went 2 for 4, scored a run, had a couple of RBIs. What about some love?
No, normally that would be a good pick. But this being a Sunday and getaway day combined, you have to go with the guy who makes the really good defensive play also. And you remember that double play, that stretch where he kept his foot on the bag? That has to turn the tide.
True. Swing and a miss by Adam. And we go to the bottom of the 9th. White Sox, however, in control. Let's see if they can nail it down, leading 6-0. We are in the bottom of the 9th here at Minute Maid Park. White Sox in front, 6-0. Dinks on the hill trying for a complete game shutout with Preston Tucker at the plate. Popped up to Sanchez in the first, fly to Garcia in the 4th. Astros have been blanked 3 times this season. Tucker hits off to the right. LaRoche fields it cleanly and steps on the bag, and we have 1 out here in the 9th.
MLB.TV Premium is celebrating 13 years. Watch every out-of-market game live or on demand in true HD on over 400 devices. There's real-time highlights, live look-ins, pitch tracking widget, and more. Blackout and other restrictions apply. Visit MLB.TV for details. Nice play, by the way, by Adam LaRoche as he dug that ball out and made it look easy.
The DH, Evan Gattis, at the plate now with 1 out. Bottom of the 9th. Gattis, the designated hitter, is 0 for 3. 6-0 White Sox. Gattis hits it down the left field line for a base hit. Jigging it out of the corner is Melky Cabrera, and Gattis with a double here with 1 out in the bottom of the 9th.
This a rocket shot right down the line. Johnny tried to cut one in on his hands, and Gaddis didn't let him get in there.
This will bring on Chris Carter. Carter is 1 for 3.
And by the way, the last complete game for Johnny Danks was back in 2011. It's been a long time between complete games. If he's able to nail it down here, he's thrown 113. You can bet he wants the complete game.
Here's the pitch by Danks. Each team with 10 hits, but the White Sox leading 6-0. Two-0 count.
Daniel Webb and Zach Duke, they're both ready to go. But Robin is going to let John try to finish this one.
This has been a tremendous effort turned in by Danks. 2 outs away from going the distance, as Steve Stone mentioned, for the first time since 2011.
And to this point, this is the #1 home run hitting team in the league, and John has kept them in the ballpark.
3-2, 1 out here in the bottom of the 9th. We have 1 out. Chris Carter at the plate. And he walked him. Now, how far and how long do you go with Danks here?
Probably up to John. I would give him at least one more hitter, but Don Cooper is going to call the bullpen to make sure both of them are ready. And if he gets the affirmative, Robin's going to come out and make the call now. Johnny certainly wanted to complete it, but last thing you want to do, and a guy that is not used to going the distance and hasn't in some time, is stretch him out. Now the question is, if he's talking to him, will he allow him to talk him into staying in the game? And the answer is yes. He looked in the eyes of Johnny Danks. He said, "You got enough left to finish this?" And he told him, indeed he does, and that's the Danks family. There's a bunch of them in attendance.
How often did that happen to you with Earl Weaver, when Earl would make that stroll to the mound? Earl, I'm staying in.
One time.
Really?
One time. He asked me if I could retire Cecil Cooper with the game on the line and 2 outs in the 9th inning, representing the winning run. I told him, no, bring in Tippy. And he brought in Tippy Martinez, and he got him out.
Wise call. First and second for the Astros with 1 out here. Valbuena at the plate. Here's Danks with the pitch. Cold strike.
What he certainly could use with Valbuena is a ground ball to and out of the game. Valbuena's grounded into 6 double plays.
Here's a ground ball. Sanchez tags the runner, throws to first. That's a double play, and that is a White Sox winner.
Make that 7 double plays.
As the Sox take the series 2-1. Steve, take us through that last play.
Johnny's thinking about ending it with a double play ground ball. And that's exactly what happened. Heads up play by Sanchez. He realized that he could make the tag, make the throw easily.